So because I declared that I have a medical reason to not wear a mask, people on the plane are tripping out and may not want to fly on this plane. So the captain has just announced that he's going to look up all the rules to make sure he's following the guidelines, and then make the best decision for everybody's safety on the plane. There's a couple that are definitely having an issue with me not wearing a mask. Stay tuned.
And there are plenty of seats open. If you choose to get off, I'll be more than happy to support.
All right. So what we're listening to right now is some dickheads on the airplane, and he's not wearing a mask, and he's basically delaying this flight because now the pilot has to figure out whether or not it's okay for him to fly this plane without this dickhead on the plane wearing a mask.
Anything you want to write into American Airlines so we can define the requirement to wear a mask for everybody else's benefit. My name is Steve Ash. You're more than welcome to use that name as the captain. A little bit worried about this situation. To try and help me change things. Please let flight attendants know. Ring your call bell. Let me know that if he wants to leave the airplane and get on the next one, and we will have the management come down and accommodate that.
And right now it seems like the pilot is explaining to folks that, like, yo, they're trying to figure out whether or not they can fly, how people feel about being comfortable being in the air with somebody who just declined to wear a mask, and he's listening to this fucking shit.
That
is. So basically they cannot violate your HIPAA rights as an American and ask you anything about your medical issue. So for all the people on the plane that may want to get off because they don't feel safe, then get the heck off. I'm staying right here.
All right, that's enough of that shit. Yo, man, real talk. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. Fuck everything he represents, man. If you're gonna buy an airline ticket, you know that they already have a mandate for you to wear a mask, and you want to get someplace, wear the fucking mask, man. Don't tie everybody else up with your bullshit about your freedom and everything else. Your freedom is to fly some other airline. Your freedom is to get on like a train or something. Your freedom is to like ride in your own fucking car to get where the hell you're trying to get to. Don't tie everybody else up because you want some bullshit about your civil liberties and they can't violate your HIPAA rights. Nigga, you don't have to fly with them. You don't have to fly with them. But yo, man, it's like it's a lot of dumb shit going on in America right now, man. I'm your man Spann is fed the fuck up, man. I'm fed the fuck up. But yo, man, thank you for coming in and checking out us here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. This is episode 306 of the report, man. And before we get into the show, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us here live here on the show on Periscope, on YouTube and on Facebook, go ahead and chop it up with your man Spann live, man. Call that hotline and let us know what you're thinking about what we're talking about here on the show tonight. So area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here, feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. And of course, those emails will get right here, reply to here live as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. And you can also hit us up on our website, www.thespannreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. And shout out to our Patreon patrons, because our Patreon patrons are the ones who allow for us to continue to do this show here live on Periscope, on Facebook, on YouTube. They are the ones who allow for this to happen. So the Golden Circle of the Spann Report Podcast, man, salute to you guys, man, because we really do appreciate you guys contributing in that way. Also, go to iTunes and or Stitcher Radio and leave us a 5-star review. Also on Podcast Addict, leave us a 5-star review on those platforms. We really do appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. Real talk. But yo, man, we podcasting here on August the 8th, man. Actually, I just came back from dinner. My father-in-law, today's his birthday, so we went out and we had dinner with him at Joe Muir today. And I'm gonna tell y'all this right now, man. This shit almost didn't happen, B. This shit almost didn't happen, man. I had to drink like some Mountain Dew Kickstart or whatever, because you know the itis was setting in on your boy, man. I had like some what was it? I had like some Wagyu steak or whatever. We're gonna talk a little bit about that Wagyu steak. You Twitter niggas be woofing. Y'all be y'all be woofing. I had some of that. I had like some shrimp and like some crab, like mashed potatoes and shit. It was good, but still. And and like this big ass hunk of carrot cake. So yeah, your man Spann almost didn't happen. But also, typically around this time, I would be in New Orleans. We wouldn't be podcasting anyway. I would be in New Orleans celebrating my anniversary, man, with my wife. To this year will mark 5 years. Me and my wife have been together, married in holy matrimony and all that good stuff, man. And we would typically be down in New Orleans during the red dress run, down there with all the shenanigans that happened around that time, man. I would probably be on like my 8th or 9th hand grenade or like my 10th huge ass beer or some shit like that, nursing hangovers and getting right back at it, man. Eating like alligator sausage, omelets and whatnot, man. But yo, man, we here. The coronavirus has put a dent in all of those plans that we had, man. But yo, this is what it is, man. So we got to make the best of it with, with what we got going on. So, yeah, man, this is episode 306, man. It's a lot of shows, man, for real. Shout out to Stephanie. How you doing, Stephanie, in the chat room? And yes, that motherfucker was such an asshole. Such an asshole. I swear to God, man. Excuse me, these people, they get on these airplanes, man, and they talking about their civil liberties and shit. Well, they can't violate your HIPAA rights. They can't tell you like, hey, man, either follow the rules or get the fuck off here, though. Like that's like that's the thing that I cannot understand. These people are like, they've suddenly forgotten how they felt about private entities and like the right to serve whomever. You know what I'm saying? Like suddenly those rules have gone completely out of the fucking window. Like, well, now you're violating my rights now. And fuck you, man. Fuck you. But yo, man, that's how we start the show. But I got a couple random thoughts. These are some things that I have been thinking about over the course of the last week, man. There's been a lot of shit going on, man. Your man Spann been all over the place. But first thing I want to talk about, like I said, we were going to talk about that Wagyu steak, right? So check it. A couple weeks ago, I was on these Twitter streets, man, and there was this video going around of like somebody was either like pan searing like a Wagyu steak, right? And I'm looking at it, because I will admit that your man Spann doesn't come from like the wealthiest of means, and I'm looking at this nigga cooking his steak. I'm like, where's the seasoning? Where's the motherfucking seasoning? I don't see no salt. I don't see no pepper. I don't see nothing on this shit. I mean, mostly they like salt and pepper to taste. It wasn't even salt and pepper to taste on this motherfucker, right? So I'm like, yo, man, I remember saying on Twitter, where's the seasoning? And motherfuckers like, you uncultured swine. You don't put seasoning or you don't drain it in seasoning on a Wagyu steak. This is not what you do, you uncultured swine. At most, you may put salt and pepper on it after you cook it, but you do not put salt and pepper or any sort of seasoning on Wagyu steak. You just don't do that with that sort of cut of beef. It would overpower the taste of the steak and you would be killing it. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, nigga. Like I've eaten steak, man. I've eaten some pretty good steaks, but I'm like, man, them motherfuckers got seasoning. They got something on them, right? So tonight I had never had Wagyu steak, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe these motherfuckers are saying some shit, and maybe I'm just like, maybe they are right. Maybe I am like the uncultured swine that they say that I am. So today we at the Joe Muir, and I'm like, you know what? Is he on the menu? Let me go ahead and get that Wagyu, see what they talking about, right? And truthfully speaking, the Wagyu steak is pretty good steak. It's pretty good steak, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, though. I like filet better, but the Wagyu was pretty good. And I'm also tell you this, man. The seasoning, it was seasoning on mine. Like I ain't asked for it, but they seasoned that bitch. And again, the steak was good. The steak was good. Now I know all the people that have been eating Wagyu steak before then would tell me like, yeah, they killed the steak. It could have been better than that filet you talking about. That filet is, man, that's nothing. Yeah, man, whatever. It was good. It was good steak. But I think y'all kind of was woofing. I think y'all was like overselling this shit, and that tends to happen quite a bit, man. Like sort of like the Popeye chicken sandwich. Everybody was talking about how great that Popeye chicken sandwich was, and then I'm like, it's about the same, about the tie with the Wendy's chicken sandwich, right? So yeah, man, that was something I was thinking about. Another thing I was thinking about, man. So Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, came out with a song, man. Came out with a video for the song, man. Was it Wet Ass Pussy is the name of the song, right? And I'm gonna tell you this right now, man. I have never seen so many grown ass men clutched imaginary pearls in all my life. The same niggas that I know couldn't wait to watch Nelly slide a credit card down the crack of a stripper's ass. Suddenly, I hear someone say, "Oh my lord, why are they out here talking about how wet their pussies are?" Like, oh, my stars and garters, like just clutching pearls and shit. Like, hey man, like I get it. Some of y'all done got a little older. Here's the thing, right? Everybody want to talk about how much they've grown and shit, right? So like, well, you know, yeah. I mean, of course, I would have been cool with that. I was like 25 when that shit came out. Megan Thee Stallion is 25. Cardi B is like maybe 25, 26 years old. They the same age your ass was when you was cool with the credit card down the crack of the ass for Nelly. Not only that, truthfully speaking, let's just keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. Some of y'all just ain't comfortable with a woman talking about her own sexual proudness and taking agency over her sexual being. Y'all ain't really cool with that being a thing, right? Let's just keep it a buck, man. Because some of y'all I know some of y'all got daughters, right? Some of y'all didn't like we kind of came up in an era where like some of the shit that we was doing was, not necessarily frowned upon. And now you've got to, you've grown. You've grown and you've got daughters, and now you're thinking about all the shit you used to do, and now you're thinking about all those things sort of like coming back, and maybe your daughter having to deal with the same sort of bullshit that you kind of forced upon women around that time when you were doing the silly shit. So yeah, man, it was just kind of funny to me, man. I've been watching so many dudes, man, so many guys my age subtly talking about why Cardi B isn't more socially conscious. Oh man, y'all been stretching, man. Y'all been reaching like a motherfucker, reaching like Stretch Armstrong, man. But yeah, man, I ain't never seen so many like dudes suddenly become prudes in all my life, man. It's been real interesting times this week, for real. Another thing that I was kind of thinking about, man. I'm kind of tired of you niggas talking about the lesser of two evils. This shit's kind of like, kind of tired of that talking point. And part of the reason why I'm tired of hearing about the lesser two evils is because it's a reductive sort of talking point, and it's really like you trying to sound deep when really is not that deep at all. Or better yet, not even sound deep, to sound as if you're above it all, like you're above all this shit that's going on, right? So, Joe Biden recently had a gaffe where he talked about the diversity of the Latino community, and he juxtaposed that with the lack of diversity somewhat of the Black community, right? And like some niggas took this shit and like, oh my god, y'all really about to vote for this nigga, man? Y'all about to vote for this motherfucker, man? He racist in the motherfucker, man. It's some bullshit, man. Can you believe he said this shit? It's like, man, okay, first of all, pump your brakes. Some of you niggas become Kanye whisperers every time this nigga say something foul coming out of his mouth. Y'all, well, see, this is what Kanye really meant, right? So Kanye, like, he really didn't mean that, like, Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves. What he was saying was she just basically transferred their work status, right? So you got niggas that'll come out here and be like Kanye whisperers and shit when he says something stupid, but suddenly y'all can't necessarily interpret the intentions of this man while he made a gaffe, right? Suddenly all of his, everything he says has malicious intent. Right. So you got that going on. But this lesser of two evils thing, man, I'm gonna need y'all to just come to this realization right now. You don't agree with anybody on everything at all. Not even your mother. Your mother could, the person who raised you. And some of y'all were raised by your father. So not even your fathers. Y'all don't agree with them on every motherfucking thing. So the idea that y'all would agree with a politician on everything and being locked up with a politician on all of their policy and their policy positions and proposals is laughable. But y'all keep talking about, well, I don't want to vote for the lesser two evils. I'm going to tell you this right now. Every choice you make that you think is for the betterment of you is the lesser of two evils. Every choice you make. And truthfully speaking, your choice, whether you see it as the lesser of two evils, guess what? To somebody else, it's the greater of two evils because it may come to their detriment. So this idea that I don't want to keep picking between the lesser of two evils, no matter what choice you make, it's the lesser of an evil in your eyes. So like, I'm just kind of sick and tired of people talking about, I'm tired of, I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. Even if you had a third choice, G, that's the lesser of three evils. A fourth choice, the lesser of four evils. You picking the lesser, the one that you think is going to have the least amount of negative impact on your life. That's the choice that you making all the time, no matter what decision it is. So like this, I don't want to choose between lesser. Shut that shit up, man. I'm tired of hearing that shit. It's reductive. The other thing I was thinking about too, though, was like as we come up on the 2020 presidential elections and stuff, man, I was thinking like, as I like try to educate myself on a lot of these things, man, I've been watching like a lot of historical documentaries and stuff on politics. I've been reading a lot of books, to try to make sense of what it is that we're seeing today, man. Like a lot of these things we've seen happen. And when you read about these things, when you study some of this history, some of these things is like it becomes a movie to you. It becomes like a sequel. Like you've seen this movie before, you read this book before, so you know what's coming. And one of the things I was thinking about though is like as we kind of moved along, there's been this thing where like the moderate politician has kind of gone away. It's kind of going the way of a dodo, right? The moderate politician was, they would today be seen like someone who plays both sides of the field. They would be somebody today who most folks would say like are talking out of both sides of their mouths. They would be someone today who people would say are flip-floppers. There are people today who folks would say that they don't have any convictions, right? Because like they go wherever the wind blows. When truthfully speaking, like being able to communicate an idea that can cut across party lines and get some sort of consensus to get some legislation that could be for the betterment of most people, not necessarily the extremes. We don't really have much of that today now. Because if you feel like, okay, so this is something that I agree with on the right, like say for instance, your man Spann, I'm someone who is a Second Amendment proponent, but I'm to the left of most everything else on the Republican side, right? I'm for the guns, but I'm also for common sense gun legislation, right? I'm for, women having the right to choose. I'm for LGBTQ rights and having not only the right to marry, but to also have a right to, be who they are. No discrimination at the workforce, in the workplace and everything else. Much of that stuff is to the left of a lot of your Republican colleagues, right? So like there's this thing with like the political moderate that I just kind of think is like it's an extinct thing, man. And it's an extinct thing because we've come to a point where you have to be on an extreme or pick a side in order for you to be seen as a viable candidate. Someone who's trying to like come across the aisle to get some shit done. Folks don't trust them no more. Folks don't trust them. If you fucking with that guy, man, I don't know about you. Right. And so, yeah, man, I was just kind of thinking, man, the political moderate, they've gone away to the dodo. But that's been my random thoughts. It's time for us to get into the news. All right. Our first story here in the news is so there was a man named Adam Zabrowski who got pissed off at a cigar shop and got into a gunfight with the police, and he lived to talk about the shit. Hence the title of the show, Betty White. All right. So we read the story here. This comes out of the WashingtonPost.com. It says, when a cigar shop clerk told Adam Zabrowski on Friday that he had to wear a mask in the shop, the 35-year-old angrily refused. Instead, he grabbed two stogies, stormed outside, and then pulled a handgun and shot at the clerk, Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania police said. The next day, cornered near his home, Zabrowski allegedly fired at police with an AK-47, sparking a wild shootout with at least 7 officers that ended with him shot multiple times and under arrest. The case is the latest violent incident tied to arguments over mandatory mask orders, but Zabrowski's reaction was driven by his own intense difficulty with the pandemic. His attorney claimed before the shootout, Zabrowski had lost his job and had also recently lost custody of his child. He just wasn't dealing well with the loss of his job and the loss of his child, just not handling the pandemic well. John Waldron told the Express Times on Sunday, while noting that those factors didn't justify his violent conduct, I think we was getting to stretch too tight. So the idea that this dude was being stretched too tight, not handling the pandemic well, having this like these understanding tones, right? When it comes to a dude pulling a fucking AK-47 out on the police, man. An AK-47, having a shootout with the police and living to tell the fucking story. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right? And so like I was having like some discussions with folks on Twitter about this particular thing, and there's this contingent of people who are just habitual fucking point missers, man. Like the habitual point missers who always are just like like that's their job, man. Is like to miss the point habitually so that it like gets you fired up. But somebody had the nerve to say like, so what are you doing? You're advocating for the police to shoot people now? It's like, yeah, people that are trying to kill police, right? People that are actively out here trying to kill the police, man, I ain't got no love for them either. Like, yo, man, I get it. You on the job, somebody trying to take you out. Hey, man, take them out. Go home to your family. Go home safe. The problem is the problem becomes when they use I was in fear for my life in instances where they were against someone who had no weapons at all. This is the problem with the police, is that they're doing this against people who have no weapons at all. Here, this man had an AK-47, was in a shootout with the police, and managed to live to tell the story. Right? I'm thinking about Laquan McDonald, man, like getting shot 16 times in Chicago. And he didn't even, like, he had a knife, maybe. He didn't even get a chance to step towards a police officer. They hit that man with 16 shots. There was no AK-47 in that. So, yeah, man, like, this is crazy, dude. Like, I'm just more so amazed that this dude was actually able to live to tell the tale. And then on top of that, you got somebody explaining, well, you know, he lost his job and, you know, he lost custody of his kids. And, you know, they asked him to wear the mask, and that's where shit went, you know, that's where shit went left. You know, like this idea that you could just like flout the mask requirements, bro. Like, hey, man, I don't think lots of us don't really want to wear the mask, man. I'm one of those people. I don't necessarily like wearing a mask when I'm out in the pub. I mean, they're not the most comfortable thing in the world to wear. My glasses and shit fog up quite a bit when I'm wearing a mask. I try to get like masks with the vents on them and shit, so like they like exhale out and I don't get the fog in my glasses or whatever. But still, it's still a kind of a pain in the ass. I might like step out of my car or something, happen to go into a building and forget that I got a mask. That's what I got to do. Go back to the car, grab the mask. You know, it's a pain in the ass. I get it. But also, it ain't just about me. It's about everybody else, right? Be a decent motherfucker, man. I don't understand why we can't just be decent people, man. I don't get it. But yo, that's in the news, man. Another story that we got here in the news is that apparently teachers are getting fed the fuck up too, because a national teachers union actually supports the teachers striking if the schools aren't prepared safety wise for the coronavirus. This story here, this comes out of abcnews.com. It says one of the nation's largest teachers unions is authorizing its members to strike if their school plans to reopen without proper safety measures in the middle of the global pandemic. The American Federation of Teachers, which represents 1.9 million school employees, issued a resolution on Tuesday saying it will support any local chapter that decides to strike over reopening plans. The group says school buildings should open only in areas where coronavirus infections are low enough and if schools enact certain safety measures. In announcing the measure, the union's president blasted President Donald Trump for ordering schools to reopen even as the virus continued to surge. Randy Weingarten called Trump's response chaotic and catastrophic, saying that he has left teachers angry and afraid. We will fight on all fronts for the safety of our students and their educators, Weingarten said in a prepared remarks to the group's annual convention. But if the authorities don't protect the safety and health of those we represent and those we serve, as our executive council voted last week, nothing is off the table. I'm going to tell you this right now, dude. I wholeheartedly feel like the teachers should already be doing the strike. I feel like they should already be doing it. And the reason why I say that is because, for one, have you been around children? Have any of you been around kids? Kids, if we see adults acting like assholes because they have to wear a mask, pulling guns out because they have to wear a mask, could you believe like kids aren't going to be acting up in regards to these masks? Shit, hey man, some of us is like buying like these fancy masks or whatever. You buying masks with like different patterns and shit like that on them. Kids will start trading these motherfuckers like basketball cards. That, hey man, your mask got Spider-Man on it. I got a Batman mask. You want to trade? Boom, coronavirus. These motherfuckers don't even like wear the mask all the way up. Like they're in the hallway and they like the kids are wearing the mask around their mouth, but they ain't got it over their nose. Totally defeating the motherfucking purpose. You know what I'm saying? They like forget to like hand sanitize, forget to wash their hands and shit. Kids are not going to take heed. Many adults aren't taking heed right now. So these teachers, man, real talk, shouldn't be like, I really feel like these teachers should be striking right now. And the other part about it is this. The people who are telling these kids that they have to go to school, the people who are telling their parents that these kids have to be in school for their socialization and all this other shit, they kids ain't at school. Their kids are being schooled at home. Their kids are being are doing the remote learning thing exclusively. If it's not good enough for their children, why in the fuck is it good enough for everybody else's? Why can't we have a situation where our kids are being educated, remotely? And I know there's certain, I know that there are certain, situations where some kids don't have access to the internet, or some kids don't have access to computers and everything. And I know like there should be something in place, especially considering all the time that we had off. Like these are some of the things that they should have been preparing for back in March, back in April, back in May. These are some of the things that they should have been preparing for come the event that we don't have this virus under control by now. And we've got to have like our children, we pull them out of school because of this virus. The virus has not been abated. We can't just send the motherfucking kids back to school just because like this is just what we do. No. So truthfully, I just kind of feel like the teachers should already be on strike. Now, I get it. Like everybody got, their own financial, situations that they got to work themselves through. I understand all of that. But what good is it going to do if like more and more people turn up dead, right? Same thing about going back to work for a whole lot of folks. They were talking about reopening the economy. What good is reopening the economy if the customers ain't there because the customers are dead, right? Just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But man, the teachers should be on a strike, and they're already talking about they're supporting the idea of it. So that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news, man. So Turning Point USA co-founder Bill Montgomery has just died from complications from coronavirus. So we get this story here. This comes out of Politico.com. It says the co-founder of conservative student group Turning Point USA, Bill Montgomery, has died from complications of the coronavirus, according to two friends of his. Montgomery, who started it in 2012 with young conservative star Charlie Kirk, died at the age of 80 on Tuesday from COVID-19, according to pro-Trump conservative strategist Caleb Hall, who posted about the death on Twitter and his personal Facebook page, and Chicago-based citizen journalist Vic Maggio. I really wish people would just stop politicizing this pandemic and grow up while innocent people around us are dying, Hall also said. You have no idea how painful it is to be forced to sit at home while your loved one dies alone in a hospital. I'm pretty sure like over 160,000 Americans already know how that feels. 160,000 people have died from this virus. In a statement memorializing Montgomery, Turning Point USA praised his role in elevating Kirk in the organization, calling him the group's first believer and senior advisor, although Montgomery often described himself as a co-founder. Charlie Kirk said in an additional statement to Politico, "I can't put into words how saddened I am by the death of my dear friend Bill Montgomery. Before starting Turning Point with Kirk, Montgomery, who lived in Illinois, worked in marketing, publishing, restaurants, and was a business development consultant. A 2015 National Journey story recounted how Montgomery met Kirk when he was 18 and urged him not to go to college, but told him instead to do after a speech at Benedictine University, "I don't know you, but you need to start an organization to reach out to young people with your message." So the next month, the two launched Turning Point together. It was Bill and Charlie's chance encounter in 2012, along with Bill's generosity and willingness to invest in an 18-year-old with no experience and no connections that gave birth to the dream that would one day become Turning Point USA. I'm going to tell you this right now, man. Turning Point USA has been one of the biggest proponents of not wearing masks, has been one of the biggest proponents of being against social distancing and everything else. And for that shit to hit them with their co-founder of their organization, all I know is coronavirus sat there the whole time like,
you shouldn't have been talking shit.
Like, for real. Much the same way that, like, with what happened with shit, what's my man name that just passed away? Herman Cain. Much the same way that it happened with Herman Cain. You know what I'm saying? Like, Herman Cain was out here drinking the Kool-Aid, man, dancing the dance and shit, out here pumping out that message, and became a casualty to the message. Bill Montgomery is now a casualty to the message. Now, will that funny thing is, now Bill Montgomery's a white guy. Like, will that change how the Republican Party right now talks about this virus? Probably not, because they take their cues from Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't believe anything that he's done wrong. And truthfully speaking, you can't speak ill of the president in that party, period. It is not how it goes over there, right? So, yeah, man, another person being a casualty of the talking points, man. Being a Republican right now just seems like being a part of a death cult. That's just what it sounds like to me. Right. But another story that we got here in the news is apparently Black Americans, man. We are the #1 demographic for buying guns in the United States of any demographic right now. All right, we get the story here. This comes out of blackenterprise.com. It says that Black Americans now account for the highest increase in gun sales of any demographic. The spread of COVID-19 or the novel coronavirus pandemic has changed the way normal life functions in America. Compounded by the national protests over racial injustice and police brutality, many Black Americans have been advocating for the purchase of firearms for protection amid the current political climate. Overall, gun sales have been surging across the United States. According to the Brookings Institution, nearly 3 million firearms have been purchased since March, when the public health crisis caused the shutdown of major cities across the U.S. The research also shows that since March 13th, when Trump first declared the viral outbreak a national emergency, firearm sales increased significantly over the next 2 weeks, climbing as high as 176,000 orders on March 16th alone. In the month of March, there were an additional 700,000 firearms bought, more than usual. The data showed that the number increased again, with a 50% increase for June. Around the same time, the protest over police brutality began to take over the nation. The protest over the death of George Floyd and others at the hands of law enforcement has sparked a surge in gun sales amongst Black Americans, who have seen the highest increase since the beginning of the year. The overall firearm sales increase comes from Black men and women, who show a 58.2% increase in purchases during the first 6 months of 2020 versus the same period last year. So, here's the deal, man. A lot of Black people, I'm not even just Black people, because as someone who's like been a gun owning proponent for a while, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. There's a lot of scared people. There's a lot of scared people buying up guns. And I think with the combination of the coronavirus and, you know, there being, so say for instance, so like early on in the coronavirus, there were talks of police officers being quarantined off, like certain like percentages of the police department being unresponsive to calls because they didn't have the manpower to handle a lot of the calls. So there were certain calls that just wouldn't get answered by the police, like domestic violence, or domestic disputes without an injury, or breaking and entering, things like that. These things were not going to be responded to by the police as a result of the coronavirus and everything else, right? And then you add that to the protest of the police, doing the outrage over George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. So you combine those two things, and so now you got a police department who many people believe is going to be unresponsive in cases of emergency, and then you also have a distrust of the police in the Black community, because they feel like, yo, man, these motherfuckers ain't, I can't really look for them to protect me. And truthfully speaking, I've been there for a long time. I have not necessarily had the faith in the police department to protect me or mine. I felt like that was, a responsibility that was mine primarily as a head of my home and as the head of my family. Like, I feel like that was my responsibility to protect me and mine, right? And so having a firearm was part of the tools available to me to like kind of, help me in that process. not waiting for the police to show up, because chances are the police are going to be there after the shit didn't happen anyway. So what do you do in the meantime while you waiting for their asses to show the fuck up? I'm not one of those people who just gonna be like, well, I guess I'll sit here in this corner and hide. No, I'm going to protect mine. That's just how I felt about it. And so a lot of people are kind of coming into that mentality, right? So you got a whole bunch of people who are buying guns. A whole lot of these people are buying guns, had never thought about buying a gun before. It's a whole lot of first-time buyers, whole lot of people who never thought that they would be buying a gun, but a compounding of these issues with the coronavirus crippling some police departments or keeping them from responding to certain calls, and the fear, the mistrust of the police department. Combine those two things together, and you got a whole bunch of people like out who buying up a whole bunch of shit. And so you can go to a gun store right now, man. Good luck finding some ammo, right? A whole bunch of people buying up guns, ain't got no bullets to put in them motherfucker because they bought up all the shit. It was much like when the coronavirus first came around, people was buying up all the toilet paper, man. Buying up all the toilet paper. Now I think the toilet paper supplies have leveled off, but the ammunition has not. The ammunition has not. So yeah, man, it doesn't surprise me that more black people are buying guns because of the distrust that they have in the police department right now. A whole bunch of people don't necessarily trust the police. And if you feel like you're going to have to protect yourself because you can't depend on the police, yeah, man, they're going to probably be buying up some guns, right? Going to probably be buying up some guns. So yes, this doesn't surprise me that the fact that like black people are buying up a bunch of guns. Now, here's the other part about this too, though. So, because I kind of feel like not even just the coronavirus and the distrust of the police department, and the response of the police department and everything else, I really feel like people think that there's going to be something like there's going to be a national incident, and they may feel like they're going to have something to protect them from this national, like, what, I don't know if it's like, some civil unrest or whatever else. I don't know why, but there's like this undercurrent, man, like this is kind of how like the politics are playing out, how the social dynamics are playing out. People are on edge. You see people fighting, like this dude, he pulled a fucking gun on folks who asked him to wear a mask, right? People feel like everybody's on edge right now. Everybody's on edge. And so, yeah, black folks who traditionally weren't necessarily like the biggest gun owners find themselves being the biggest gun owners right now and purchasing new firearms because, yo, man, there's a lot of things going on. The coronavirus and the police mistrust and everything else, man. But that was the news. But y'all know what time it is.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
All right, our first story here in Blue Blazes has a young lady by the name of No Name, and it's she's on the docket. So we get this story here. This comes out of uprocks.com. It says that No Name gets backlash from Beyonce fans over her Black is King comments.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
Yeah, man. So let me read the story. It says the Bayhive is once again upset with No Name after she offered her assessment of Beyonce's visual album Black is King on Friday. The notoriously protective Beyonce fans flooded Twitter with derogatory comments for the Chicago rapper. She's from Chicago. Oh, man. Come on, baby. You can't be out here. You just can't be out here doing that. But anyway, she says, the Chicago rapper who they feel was disrespectful and pointing out her opinion to that film. A visual accompaniment to Beyonce's Lion King tie-in album, The Gift, aired exclusively on Disney Plus, celebrated capitalism as much as blackness or Africa. On Friday, after the release of Black is King, No Name tweeted, "We love an African aesthetic draped in capitalism. Hope we remember the black folks on the continent whose daily lives are impacted by U.S. imperialism. If we can uplift the imagery, I hope we can uplift those who will never be able to access it. Black liberation is a global struggle." Some interpreted this as an attack on Beyonce and sour grapes on No Name's part, prompting many fans to criticize the outspoken activist rapper. She's an activist? Okay. I'm going to just say this here. we got to stop throwing terms like that around. Like, everybody ain't a fucking activist. Like, you can get on Twitter, you can talk some shit. That don't make you an activist. Respect the people who are out there doing the work. And okay, let me be clear. I don't know what this girl is out there doing. I don't. I just think that, like, just throwing the activist term around, it's a bit much. She's a rapper. She has opinions on some things. Doesn't necessarily make her an activist. No more than that makes me, I don't know, an NBA player because I picked up a ball once, right? Like, we got to stop doing that. For some, No Name's comments characterized her as a hater who just looked for the negative in other artists' work. A few commentators recall the previous tiff between No Name and fans of J. Cole, noting that No Name has been attached to multiple contentious Twitter debates, sort of like Azalea Banks. However, others came to No Name's defense. While many did view No Name's comments, as overstepping, they pointed out how the anger against her seemed misdirected and misogynistic, while others admitted she might have a point about the film. Meanwhile, No Name herself retweeted a few articles further explaining her position, choosing to stay above the fray. Beyonce has yet to respond to the controversy because she won't. She's like, man, I'm gonna tell y'all. So, like, I'm not even like a Beyonce fan like that. I'm not even a Beyonce fan like that, man. Like, I watched Black is King. I thought it was dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's pretty good. Like, again, not even a fan, but I thought it was dope, right? And there's this thing whenever Beyonce comes out with something, that there's this thing that people feel like they have to think piece everything she does. Everything she does generates so much conversation where now we're even having a conversation about the conversations around Beyonce, right? But like, No Name, like, coming at Beyonce in that way, for one, like, the Africans, like African people, like from the continent, wasn't having it. A lot of them was coming at No Name's neck on Twitter, man. Like, real talk. Like, they was not having none of the shit from No Name. As a matter of fact, many of them was like, who? Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? But not only that, like, you can't, there's this thing that I think a lot of like with allyship, right? Like with allyship. And this is something that I sometimes like kind of wonder about with myself. Like when I talk about, like, you know, certain issues pertaining to women. As a man, there's only, you know, my experience is quite limited, and I can only go by the little bit that I know, or the little bit that I've gleaned from listening to and watching and reading and observing women saying how they feel about certain things and how they relate to their lives as women in a world that's dominated in misogyny, right? So I can speak to some of these things, but only from a limited scope. I can't speak for them, though, right? Can't speak for women. And sometimes as an ally, you will step into it because you feel like you're in the right position, but truthfully speaking, you may be speaking over somebody who don't necessarily want you speaking for them. And that's what No Name may have done in this particular situation while trying to talk about Beyonce using an African aesthetic. Many of these Africans are like, yo, man, Beyonce put a lot of us on. Beyonce is celebrating this culture. Beyonce is uplifting some folks who many of us here on stateside had never heard of or had never seen, who had never been exposed to their work, who had never been exposed to their artistry. And so Beyonce gives them that platform to, like, show what they are, show what they can do. And it's not necessarily about, this, like, reducing what she did to this African aesthetic. Because truthfully speaking, the people over in Africa on the continent, like, yo, man, we had a good time with this. Don't try to take this from us, right? So yeah, man. I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. Hold on a second. We get some comments here in the chat. It says, I'm thinking it refers to the tweet of the many people that could have been in the WAP video besides Kylie. Oh, that's something entirely different, though, right? Okay, so hold on. That's something entirely different with the WAP video and Kylie. Because I did see there was some backlash about Kylie Jenner being in that particular video. People just don't see it for the Kardashians, period, right now. People feel like the Kardashians are culture vultures, and any insertion of like any Kardashian or Jenner and anything that has to do with hip hop at this particular point right now, folks just ain't seeing it for them right now. Like, and I kind of get where some of it comes from, but at the same time, it's like, the women who made the song, they felt like they wanted to have Kylie in it. Like, maybe your beef lies with them. I don't know. I'm like, that's at this point, like, it's certain arguments. I'm like, you know what? This ain't for me. This ain't my fight. Like, I'm gonna let y'all have that. You know, that this is the discussion y'all need to have amongst yourselves. I'm gonna see my way on. I'm gonna see my manhood ass on the way the fuck up out of here. Cause, like, truthfully, I don't fuck with the Kardashians like that either. But I don't think the shit with No Name, I don't think it had anything to do with the WAP song or Kylie Jenner. But, you know, like the speaking of like the African diaspora or the African aesthetic and reducing it to that, I know a lot of Africans took umbrage over her framing it in that way. And they weren't having that shit, man. They were upset about it. So that's in Blue Blazers, man. Now, another story that we got here in Blue Blazers, and this is something that I'm actually kind of surprised I haven't seen or heard more about on social media. But apparently, singer Jaguar Wright has accused rapper Common of sexual assault. So we get this news we get the story out of hotnewhiphop.com. I believe there's video attached to this story. So let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, there is video. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your boy. Here we go. Uh-oh, where's the audio? Ah, man, it's one of those videos where they just got a bunch of words and shit. Okay, never mind. I guess I got to read the story. Here we go. It says the Me Too movement has made its way to Common's doorstep. He's known for uplifting Black culture and vocalizing his respect for women, Black women in particular. But singer Jaguar Wright said her interactions with the accomplished entertainer aren't as wholesome as some believe him to be. Philadelphia singer Jaguar Wright has released 2 studio albums and has performed with the likes of The Roots, Al Green, and even Jay-Z. In a recent live, she was speaking on an incident that she claims occurred with Common and stated that he sexually assaulted her while she was sleeping. Wait a second. This is a link, so maybe it could take me to the video of where. No, that's not it either. Huh. Dig that. Where is. Okay, here's the video. Okay, let me pull this up so you guys can watch. I got it now. Check this out.
Goddamn Common. Next thing I know, we go to bed. He like, oh, come on, Jack. No, I'm tired, nigga. I was on the stage all night. I want to lay down. I'm gonna lay down in the bed. I lay down with my clothes on. You know what I mean? I'm a rape survivor. I know how to buy myself a little time. You know what I mean? Just in case a nigga try to get out of hand. You got to pull my pants down. By the time you get my pants down, I promise you I'm hooking off in your jaw. That's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. The next thing I wake up this morning, I feel something poking in my face and shit, right? And it's just poking in my face, and I'm what the fuck? And I'm like, and I open my mouth, this nigga trying to stick his dick in my mouth while I'm asleep. Lonnie fucking Lynn, Rashid, Common, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. That's why I stopped fucking with him. Because, nigga, if you gonna try to stick your dick in my mouth while I'm asleep, there ain't nothing you won't do. I don't even know why he running around here, parading around here with all these.
All right. So, yeah, they cut it off right there. But, so, yeah, I saw this. Someone actually from back home in Chicago sent this to me. And I saw this. And as the stories like kind of slowly started percolating a little bit on the social media circles that I'm in, by and large, a whole lot of people just ain't buying it. And I mean, I wonder if more so than anything else, I think it's because of the reputation that Common has been able to like kind of garner with his music, with his poetry, with the persona that he's been able to kind of facilitate over the course of the last maybe 20 years, man. Like, you just don't necessarily see that sort of energy coming from Common. The thing is, a whole lot of people didn't necessarily a whole lot of folks didn't see like Tiger Woods being a serial cheater on his wife in the way in which he was, that resulted in his wife taking the golf club to his car, causing the accident and everything else. I think it was, well, more so than anything, is I think some of the disappointing thing was like people still haven't learned, despite the fact that we have a Me Too movement, despite the fact that we have so many women coming forward to tell their stories, and people just still haven't learned the lesson of not just completely dismissing these women when they come forward with these stories. Right? I saw people talk about like, who the fuck is Jaguar Wright, as if that means anything, right? As if that somehow invalidates what she said because you don't know who she is. Excuse me. Because like, how many women could say that, like, if I think the number is like 1 in 3 women has been sexually assaulted once in their lifetime, right? Which means that if you're a dude who knows at least 3 women, you know somebody who's been sexually assaulted. And yet I keep seeing dudes make the mistake of saying, well, I don't believe her because yada, yada, yada. Because of, I mean, it's common, man. What, like, you don't know this nigga the way you think you know this nigga, right? You know what he's allowed for you to like see of him. You know what he's projected himself out to be. You don't know this guy, right? Like, so to be so quick to dismiss whether or not what she's saying is truthful or not because you don't know who she is stupid. Because had it been, and you hate to bring it back to this, but had it been your daughter, had it been your sister or your wife or whomever, you wouldn't necessarily have this attitude about whether or not well, she's a nobody. No, because she's a somebody to you. And so when you have these sorts of conversations, when these sorts of allegations come out, and instantly you're like, nah, I don't believe it because like it's common and like who the fuck is she? Like when you do that, instantly all of the women that are around you take note. Take note. I can never tell this nigga what happened to me. He ain't gonna believe it. Or better yet, some kind of way may make it her fault that whatever happened to her happened to her. So like, yeah, it was weird to me too to like, hear Common's name associated with something like this. I'm a fan of Common. Like I grew up on some of Common's music. But at the same time, I don't know that nigga. So I'm not going to be out on the limb like, well, I don't think Common did it. The same way some of y'all was out here talking about Bill Cosby about to buy NBC to somehow like get out of some rape charges. Like that's what it was going to take, man. Bill Cosby going to buy NBC and suddenly the rape charges going to go away. They coming out with these rape charges, man, because he was about to buy NBC. Like that don't even make sense. That didn't even make sense, man. All they had to say is no. We don't want to sell to you. He had to come up with rape allegations against him to keep from selling him some shit that they ain't want to sell to him. You ain't got to sell your shit to nobody. But y'all went with those sorts of explanations. And so it's just disappointing that like she came out with this. And I haven't seen much like discussion around this at all, other than a bunch of niggas that I know talking about they don't believe her because it's Common. We don't know this nigga. Some of y'all don't know this nigga the way y'all think y'all know this nigga. Y'all know his albums. Y'all know his movies. Y'all know the way he presents in public. You don't know this nigga, man. So yeah, that's in Blue Blazes, man. It's just like kind of crazy that that's out there and no one's really talking about it right now, man. And Salim is in the chat room. He's saying, never heard anything like that about Comment up until earlier this week. I hadn't either. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of these folks, man, like these stories are coming out. People are feeling more empowered to tell their stories. But even with them being more empowered to tell their stories or feeling like they're more empowered to tell their stories, there's still a contingent of folks who are out here like, yeah, I don't believe that bitch, man. Fuck that shit, man. That's Common, nigga. Like these hoes be lying, man. There's some bullshit, man. They probably had some consensual sex or whatever. And now she regretting it. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the things that like dudes have to tell themselves. And truthfully speaking, many of the times, here's the rub, man. A lot of times dudes be like guilty of some of the shit that they hear these in these allegations. A lot of times guys are sometimes guilty of some of this shit. And when you are guilty of some of the things that are being alleged, you don't want to see yourself as being a rapist, right? Or someone who committed sexual assault. You don't want to see yourself in that way. So you gotta explain that shit away when somebody else because now it's a conviction. It's a strike against you, because I do that shit. We heard that same shit with Bill Cosby, right? When Bill Cosby was accused of like sexual assault of all these women and giving them quaaludes and everything, and so many dudes came out with like, "Yo, man, you ain't never gave a chick a drink or something to loosen her up." You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, we heard so much. He was doing so much worse, and we never heard about him either." So yeah. But like, even with that, so many dudes was out here talking about, "Man, you ain't never gave a chick a drink or something to get her loosened up, for the get down." They were trying to they were equating like that with what they do, because like what they were really thinking was, if what Bill Cosby was doing was rape, then damn it, that makes me a rapist too, and I can't have that, right? So yeah, man, like these stories going out of, like, again, I'm just surprised more people haven't been talking about this, and maybe there's nothing to it, maybe there is. I'm just surprised it is kind of like flying under the radar right now. But that's in Blue Blazes, man. Now, another story that's here in Blue Blazes is apparently Dr. Dre's wife is trying to get a divorce, but she's fighting the prenuptial agreement. Yeah, man. So we get this story here. As a matter of fact, I dropped my damn pocket, but let me pull this back up. We get this story here. This comes out of, hold on a second. Here we go. Rollingout.com. It says Dr. Dre's wife files documents rejecting prenuptial agreement in the amount of $1 billion. All right. It says Andre Young, better known by his super producer moniker, Dr. Dre, could have a long, hard fight on his hands if he wants to hold on to his bread. The West Coast hip hop icon recently produced a prenup after his wife filed for divorce. His paperwork was supposed to put a definitive plug in Nicole Young's case against him. However, his wife of 24 years is now claiming she was pressured into signing the paperwork and that Dre let her off the hook by destroying the evidence. In court documents obtained by TMZ, she expressed as much. "I was extremely reluctant, resistant, and afraid to sign the agreement and felt backed into a corner. Given the extraordinary pressure and intimidation by Andre, I was left with no options but to hire a lawyer and, of course, with the help of Andre's team of professionals, and unwillingly signed the agreement very shortly before our marriage." Now, listen. You didn't have to get married to Dr. Dre, right? You didn't have to get married to the dude, man. Like, the idea that, like, yo, I signed my prenuptial agreement under duress. You know how many motherfuckers would actually, like, challenge their prenups? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, well, shit, I didn't really want to sign a motherfucker, man, but they said they wouldn't marry me. Yeah, right? That's kind of how that works. That's kind of how it works, man. So the idea that you can go before the court, like, yeah, so this prenuptial agreement that I signed, so I leave what I came into the marriage with when we break up. Yeah. That we could toss that out because I was under duress. Yeah. That sounds like some amateur motherfucking that sounds like some shit that you like somebody been watching Matlock all their life. But like, hey man, I saw like episode 302 of Matlock where they challenged the prenuptial agreement because the woman was under duress. Yeah, we could try that out. No, man. That's not out. I don't think that's how that works, man.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, I don't get it. So it says a couple years into holy matrimony, Nicole claims Andre acknowledged to me that he felt ashamed that he had pressured me into signing a premarital agreement, and he tore up multiple copies of the agreement in front of me. Since the day he tore up the agreements, we both understood that there was no marital agreement and that it was null and void. Is that how that works? Can you just rip the shit up? Or do you have to go to a courthouse and get that shit like changed over, right? Somebody like let me know that, like, cause I ain't rich like that to be out here signing prenups and shit. Like I don't know nothing about that. But like, can you just like rip it up and then like the prenup is null and void? Is that how that work? You know, is that how that work? I'm dead ass asking, man, cause I don't know. But yo, man, all I know is like my granddaddy sang a whole song about this sort of shit here.
You're tied up, you better stay tied up because it's cheaper to keep it. This is from T. It says, it's cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah, man. Cheaper to keep her, man. Cheaper to keep her. You're gonna be paying alimony. They ain't got no child support though. Like all their kids is grown and shit. So like she really just fighting for resources for herself right now. And she has been with this dude for 24 years, man. I'm sure that like, you know, he got it. You know, it ain't like Dre gonna be broke if he had to break off. Even if he had to break off half, man, he got it. He got it. Here's the other part about this though, right? As much as we kind of joking about her like trying to trying to like nullify the prenup. It's a whole lot of niggas, man, to be mad when these prenup, when these divorce settlements come out, man. Like, man, she wasn't with this nigga recording in the studio, and she wasn't in the gym hooping with this nigga, man, to earn that much money, man. It's some bullshit. Hey, bro, it ain't your money. It ain't your money, B. Motherfuckers be upset about these divorces and these breakups and shit of these celebrities, bro. And it really ain't got shit to do with you. It really don't. I mean, we talk about it because it's fodder for the shows and the talk shows, whatever else. We have fun with it a little bit, but yo, man, I don't know if that's how prenups work. Like computer files exist. Yeah, computers exist. A file. Yeah, but even with that though, right? Even with the computer files, I'm sure you got to go before a judge and be like, yo, man, so this contract that we came into agreement with, yeah, we don't want this no more. Like, yeah, Dre went in front of her and tore up a few sheets of paper. Like, yeah, so we ain't got no prenup no more. It's a wrap. Like, nah. And I think she's a lawyer too. So if she's a lawyer, she know goddamn well. Man. Oh man. But yo, man, that's in the news, man. I mean, I'm sorry, that's in Blue Blazes. We got another story here in Blue Blazes, man. So apparently a man died shortly after vandalizing a Black Lives Matter mural with oil and paint. So yeah, man, let me pull this story up. Oh no, that's not it. Let me pull this story up. This comes out of Newsweek. And in Newsweek, it says, as soon as this motherfucker decides it wants to load up, like we ain't live podcasting right now. It says a man suspected of defacing a Black Lives Matter mural in Vermont with mud, oil, and graffiti died in a car accident, police announced Thursday. The suspect, identified as Fred Seavey by the Montpelier Police Department, died in a car accident July 1st after losing control of his vehicle and crashing into a highway median, according to the accident report. Police had identified Seavey, who was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash, as a transient with no listed home address, WCAX reported. Using DNA from the crash scene, police were able to positively match those samples with ones collected from spray paint cans found near the mural. Police used the DNA evidence, witness statements, and video surveillance to posthumously link CV 56 to its investigation into the mural's vandalism, according to a new news release. Hundreds of Vermont residents had gathered in front of the State House in Montpelier June 13th to paint Black Lives Matter in big yellow letters, a popular tactic among activists across the U.S. In recent months. In less than 24 hours, however, someone had spray painted over the letters and covered them with mud, dirt, and oil, police said. A nearby sidewalk also painted phrases such as $400 million gone and put it back, call Trump. But police said those messages did not appear to be referencing the mural, man. So I'm gonna just say right now that the ancestors are like really speaking their piece right now. The ancestors are not. They are just fed up, man. You had a guy like that basketball player for the Orlando Magic who decided that he wasn't going to kneel for Black Lives Matter. He was going to stand. He wasn't going to wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and everything. And he couched all that shit in religion, talked about him being Christian and everything, and that's what Black Lives Matter mean to him and everything. And he took a knee, but with an ACL injury later. You also had that lady that was like the lady that got like hit by a fire truck and shit. Like she was talking about fuck Black Lives Matter and like verbally assaulting teenagers and shit, talking about she was gonna rape her, and like she talking about her A-cup titties and all this other shit. She got hit by a fire truck. Yeah, the ancestors are speaking. And now we hear that this dude here that had like violated a Black Lives Matter mural with paint, oil, and dirt and debris and shit like that, and that He died in a car accident. Yeah, man. The ancestors are just basically like,
We will not have it. I said we will not have it. Oh.
The ancestors are speaking, man. They are sick of the shit. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, man. It's almost like y'all. I think y'all remember on what was that? Tales from the Hood. Like that guy that bought the house on the plantation, and then it was like those those slaves that were in the painting, and they came to life. He called them like little nigglets and shit, but they told him to fuck up, man. I think it's sort of like it's something like that, man. Y'all fucking with these Black Lives Matter murals, y'all fucking with this Black Lives Matter protest, y'all fucking with these Black Lives Matter, like the sentiment of it. I think the ancestors are having a say, man. I think the ancestors are having a say. Monique Johnson is in the chat room. She says the thing she was saying about the Roots on tour was shocking too. Oh, you're talking about Jaguar Wright? Yeah, man. Jaguar Wright was airing a lot of folks out on those lives, airing a lot of folks out, and like I'm still trying to figure out why what she's saying hasn't gained traction as of now. I don't know if people just don't necessarily see her as credible or what. But yeah, that she said quite a bit. It wasn't just comment that she was airing out. She aired out quite a few folks, man. But yo, man, that has been Blue Blazes.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
But y'all know what time it is.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's enough of that shit. Proud to be an American time here at the Spann Report podcast, man. Our first story here, and proud to be an American. Excuse me. So we got this dude in Michigan, man. Is let me go ahead and just pull the story. This comes out of the Washington Post, and it's a guy named Tom Eckerly, I believe. It's at a local road commission meeting in northern Michigan on Monday. Started with one commissioner asking another why he wasn't wearing a mask amid the coronavirus pandemic. The unmasked official responded with a racist slur and an angry rant against the Black Lives Matter movement. Because, yeah, that's what you do, right? He says, well, this whole thing is because of them niggas in Detroit. Hold up. Let me read that again. This whole thing is because of them niggas in Detroit.
God damn!
Yeah, Tom Eckerly, who was elected to his position on the Leanu County Road Commission in 2018, told his colleague at the start of the public meeting. The commission chair, Bob Joyce, immediately rebuked his colleague, but Eckerly, who was white, continued his diatribe. I can say anything I want, Eckerly said at the meeting, which the public could listen to via a dial-in number. The Leanu Enterprise first reported, Black Lives Matter has everything to do with taking the country away from us. Eckersley's remark came the same week that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared racism a public health crisis because of the disparate impact the coronavirus pandemic has had in Black, Native American, and Latino communities. Michigan has reported at least 94,656 cases and 6,506 deaths since the start of the pandemic. So, yeah, man. He mad. It's about them niggas in Detroit is the reason why we got these damn these numbers, man. They ain't taking care of themselves. They ain't taking care of their community, and we got to deal with the consequences because of them niggas in Detroit. This is the attitude. The attitude. But y'all didn't know we was playing. But
You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your
yeah, man, he about to lose his job because the motherfucker had to resign, y'all. All right, so we get this story here. This comes out of the Detroit Free Press. It says the elected official in mostly white county in northern Michigan who used a racial slur prior to a public meeting to describe Black people in Detroit will resign, the county administrator said Friday. The Leanu County Administrator, Chet Janik, said Tom Eckerly, a member of the County Road Commission, would step down after receiving criticism from across the U.S. for his comments. I personally and professionally think it's in the best interest for Mr. Eckerly, the Road Commission, and Leanu County, Janik told the Associated Press. The Traverse City Record-Eagle reported that Eckerly had informed the newspaper of his plans to quit, saying he didn't want to burden the newly hired Road Commission manager scheduled to begin work this month. Eckerly did not return a call from the AP, but in a phone interview earlier Friday, he repeated the slur while maintaining he was not a racist. God damn. God damn. Like all this racist shit happening. No one's ever a fucking racist, man. All the racist shit. It's like all like remember we were talking a few weeks ago. It was like, no, everybody swear they ain't got like I ain't got a homophobic bone in my body. All the homophobia going on and shit. Like, I ain't got a racist, but everybody ain't got the bones. That's what it is. Nobody has the bones. The bones is missing, right? But he calls black people niggas. It's because of those niggas in Detroit, right? And Black Lives Matter is taking our country away from us. Because because how dare these black people assert that their lives matter in any fucking way at all? But racist? Me? Nah. Like you kind of have to laugh to keep from crying because like they really believe that shit. Like you can be out here saying the same shit as George Wallace, the same shit as David Duke, all these racist sacks of shit. And you can vote for them too, right? And you can vote for them. But you being outwardly like accepting of the fact that like what you said was racist and you continuing to hold these ideas is what makes you a racist. To say that like, nah, I mean, I said it, but I ain't racist or nothing. Nah, man. That shoe fit like a motherfucker, man. That shit fit like a motherfucker. Betty White. Betty White, man. Betty White. But yo, he said he ain't racist. I'm sorry. I wish I had more to tell y'all on that one. I ain't got it. God damn. This motherfucker said he wasn't racist, man. Oh man, that's fucking funny, man. I'm sorry, that's fucking hilarious. Being like, I ain't got, that's crazy. But yo, that's proud to be an American, right? Oh man, another story that we got here, and proud to be an American. Oh shit. So apparently somebody in Nebraska decided they were gonna tip a server 5 cents because they were upset with the fact that the restaurant made them wear a mask.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
So yeah, we get the story here. This also comes out of Newsweek. It says a waitress in Nebraska was reportedly left just 5 cents as a tip by a man who was expressing his disappointment at the restaurant for imposing a citywide mask mandate. Ali Silverhouse, who works at the Big Red East in Lincoln, posted photos of the receipt left by a customer onto social media. According to Silverhouse, who after serving the man and his child, the customer left a 5 cent tip on a $38.20 bill, along with the words, "Get rid of masks, tips will be bigger." Silverhouse described the actions to the customer as wrong on so many levels while posting the images. First and foremost, the masks are a city mandate and there's nothing I or management can do about it. How is me wearing a mask affecting his health? Here in Lincoln, restaurant customers are not even required to wear a mask at the table. Secondly, servers make less than $3 an hour typically, so our entire pay depends on tips. I was very nice to this guy and his young son. They got their drinks and food on time, and when I asked him how everything was tasting, he said it was good and had no complaints. I'm going to tell you this right now, man. That dude has no power in any fucking aspect of his life other than that right there. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, the whole tipping thing. Like, if you don't want to, like, if you don't want to, like, wear a mask on a plane, find another mode of transportation. If you don't want to wear a mask in a store, go someplace else where they will allow for you not to wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask in a restaurant, take your ass back home and fix your own motherfucking food, man. Like, this is just what it is. People keep talking about their goddamn civil liberties and their freedom as Americans and all this other shit. You don't have the freedom to impose yourself on everybody else, man. Everybody ain't got to deal with your shit. And truthfully speaking, man, I can't wait for like an establishment right now. Like, hey, man, either follow the rules or get the fuck out. I'm waiting for that video of the owner to come out like, man, get the fuck out of my establishment, man. Like that's what I'm waiting on. Like these people, like the waitresses and the waiters and like the greeters and stuff at these like department stores or these like say for instance Meijer stores or Target or Walmart. Like these people, they have to deal with you motherfuckers coming through their doors, like acting like you don't have to follow the rules while everybody else is just trying to follow the rules. Hey man, either do this shit or get the fuck out, man, and leave it at that. Leave it at that. Like way too many people feel like they can impose themselves on everybody else. And then this thing with the tipping, like this is far too many people, man, like take this idea of tipping as a way to exert power that they wouldn't have in any other aspect of their life, right? This is the one time you get to lord over somebody that they're dependent upon you doing the right thing and tipping appropriately because of the service that they were able to provide for you. Right. And this is like, I hate going out with people that don't like tipping or try to come up with come up with excuses as to why they're like, my food order wasn't right. Like, yeah, you didn't order what you said you ordered and shit. Like, I hate that because you're already trying to preempt the idea that like, yeah, I'm not tipping this guy because he got my shit wrong. Like, nah, you was on some bullshit. You just didn't want to pay that money. And you also know, a lot of people know that these servers aren't necessarily making a lot of money on like on the check-in. Some of them making, I think the minimum wage for servers in Michigan is like $2.35 or some shit like that. So yeah, they're dependent upon those tips. And you're gonna leave them a nickel because you mad at a city ordinance? Joe, you could have stayed your punk ass at home. Made some like macaroni, like what was it, hamburger helper or some shit. You and your son could have ate that shit for the next 2 days. Right? But no, you mad and you take it out on somebody who didn't do shit to you, but enforce a fucking, mandate that the city is making them do. So yeah, man, that's some American ass shit for your ass, man. Cheap motherfucker. But that's in Proud to be an American. Another story that we got here in Proud to be an American, man. So apparently Republicans are trying to attempt to help Kanye West get on ballots as a way to hinder Joe Biden going into the 2020 elections. Yeah. So we get the story here. This comes out of CNN.com. It says Republican operatives, some with ties to President Donald Trump, are actively helping Kanye West get on the presidential general election ballots in states ranging from Vermont to Arkansas to Wisconsin. The effort is raising questions about whether Republicans are pushing for the rapper's addition to the ballot as a way to potentially siphon voters from presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. Until Tuesday, West's attempts to get his name on the ballot have only focused on states that are either dominated by Republicans or Democrats in the presidential elections. But West's expected addition to the ballot in Wisconsin means the rapper will likely be a choice for voters in a battleground state that is key to both Trump and Biden's path to winning in November. Democrats in Wisconsin and beyond called it a blatant attempt to appeal to young black voters who may be unenthused about the Biden campaign. Any downturn in turnout for Biden and young black voters, a group the Trump campaign has tried to target in the race against the former vice president, could impact the outcome in states with traditionally narrow margins like Wisconsin. Thankfully, the Trump team is showing their cards that the real force driving Kanye West to run is not people, but Trump, said Representative David Bowen, a Democrat who represents Milwaukee, told CNN. This is clearly a targeted effort by Republican operatives to cause confusion and problems for typically Democratic voters on election day. It's sad to see a popular music artist like Kanye, he added, be used as a pawn to trick his own people and fans to vote for a fake campaign. I'm gonna tell you this right now, man. I think I said this last week, but it's amazingly racist. It is like stunningly racist for Republicans to believe that large swaths of black people will vote for Kanye West just off of the strength of him being black and being Kanye West. Now, I do know some people who say that they will vote for Kanye West. I don't consider them people bright at all, right? But I think that it's very cynical of the Republican Party and to be of black people to think that like, yo, all we gotta do is throw some like famous black person up at these niggas and they just gonna vote for them. Right now, here's the interesting part about this, because like I said, I do know some black people who say that they will vote for Kanye West over Joe Biden, and they think it's like they think it's like, you know, somehow being in like solidarity with blackness to vote for Kanye West, despite the fact that Kanye West is linking himself with people who don't give a fuck about black people. Right? The irony of that you would vote for Kanye West because Kanye West is black. Meanwhile, Kanye West is aligned with with white people who don't give a fuck about black people at all. But you voting with him or you voting for him because he's black. I just saw an article today that had Nick Cannon saying, yo, I'm voting for Kanye West because we need another black man as president. That's got to be the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. You niggas are exhausting, B. I swear, full breast milk, man, you niggas are exhausting. I was in a discussion with some guys yesterday. One of my partners, you know, he posted the story about this very story here, where we're talking about like Republicans are using Kanye West in order to siphon votes away from Joe Biden. And you've got this contingent of black people who are like, yo, Joe Biden is racist. Joe Biden supports a lot of legislation that is to the detriment of black people, and y'all are some goddamn sheep for voting for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is just as racist as Donald Trump is, and you know he's just the lesser of two evils. That whole lesser of two evils bullshit that they keep talking about. You know, I keep seeing that, and you know, so much of it focuses on like the 1994 crime bill, and how it disproportionately targeted black people. And you know, in mass incarceration and things of that nature. And I'm 40 years old, man. The 90s were my teenage years. I remember those times. I remember like the carnage that was happening in the neighborhoods. I remember like being shot at 12 and 13 years old. I never forget this, man. Standing on the block. I used to live on like 6 Mile and Oakfield on the west side of Detroit, right? Just standing on the block playing basketball on my street. It's dark outside. The street light is on right out in front of my house. We're standing across the street from my house. There's some niggas in the neighborhood who got problems with some niggas around the block, right? I don't have anything to do with that. But guess what? I'm standing around some niggas who got some problems with some guys around the block. And some shooting happened. They were shooting at the nigga standing next to me. I didn't get hit, but a friend of mine did. She got shot in the leg. This was in 93. 1993 this happened. Right? She might have been what? I think at the time, so I might have been 13. She was 15 years old when she got shot in the leg. Right? I remember like watching the neighborhood go to shit. Like, so like if you drive down that block now, there is not a house on, there may be 4 houses still standing on the block. Most of it is now vacant lots. My house is no longer standing on that street anymore. I remember what it was like living in the 90s during the crack epidemic, man. Coming up in Detroit, like I moved to Detroit in 1986, man. Like coming up in Detroit and then like coming from Chicago, how bad the numbers were. Like y'all talk about how bad it is in Chicago now, man. Y'all ain't seen shit if you ain't like if you didn't live in Chicago or in Detroit like in the late 80s, early 90s. These numbers y'all seeing now ain't shit compared to that time. Nothing. And you know what happened during that time? Black people in these communities were desperate to have something done. So what ended up happening is, yo, mandatory minimums for possession of crack cocaine, mandatory minimums for not only the possession of crack cocaine, but with firearms and everything else. They wanted like the calls for more stringent sentencing, for more punitive sentencing for anybody involved in that game. Those calls are coming from inside the house. It was a whole bunch of black people that wanted those laws to come down, man. So when the 1994 crime bill came to pass, it wasn't just because Joe Biden wrote the motherfucking bill. Joe Biden had the go ahead from a whole lot of black people who like, yo, man, I'm sick of this shit going on in my neighborhood. It wasn't just Joe Biden writing up some shit because Joe Biden wanted to like lock up a bunch of niggas. There was black endorsement of that legislation. Now it's cool for us now in 2020, 2016 to look back on those times and say like, yeah, that was fucked up. We got hindsight now. But at the time, whole lot of black folks wanted those laws to come to pass, and they got it. Now we can look back on it and say, yeah, we should have did such and such differently. Much in some of the same way that like a whole bunch of white people are talking about, you know, drug addiction being a public health crisis as opposed to a criminal justice problem, right? This hindsight is 2020 shit. But as I'm watching people try to justify Kanye, who has no fucking like experience whatsoever, is admittedly off his fucking meds. To watch people sit around talking about how, yeah, we just need another black person. How fucking, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, man. I swear, like, niggas are exhausted, man. Real talk. like some of y'all are exhausted. And truthfully, I know that Kanye West has no shot in hell of winning like this election. But I am under no illusions that Kanye West can't necessarily have an effect on this election. We saw what little effect that Jill Stein had on the 2016 election. She's not nearly as famous and like well known as a Kanye West is. Kanye West can have some level of effect. Now, I don't want people to fall for the okie doke. Essentially, I don't want people to fall for the okie doke. I don't want people to repeat the same motherfucking mistake that we made in 2016 by equating Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and saying that they're two sides of the same coin, because they not. That Joe Biden and Donald Trump are two sides of the same coin, because they not. Right now, you're looking at a president who's mishandled a pandemic, who's already been impeached for trying to get a foreign country to look in the dirt to his, against his political opponents, who is already like, you know, appointed cronies to key motherfucking positions. Right now, Donald Trump has a crony as Postmaster General. Have you noticed how like slow your mail has been moving lately? Y'all, anybody peep that out? Like suddenly shit that used to come in like 2 days takes a week to get to your house. You ever noticed? Have you been noticing that? They're already trying to preempt the fact that because of the coronavirus that they mishandled, that we are now going to have to move to, in order to keep the election, the access to the election open for a whole bunch of people, open for most people, most voters, we may have to mail in ballots. We may have to send out absentee ballots. Well, you know what? If more people have access to the ballot, then they know that they don't necessarily have a chance, because more access to the ballot means more people voting, means they don't win. It's why they keep trying to take your vote away from you. It's why they keep trying to have, well, they don't have literacy tests, but they have like poll taxes. In Florida, they had poll taxes. If you were where the felons in Florida were given their right to vote back, and then the governor imposed, like, well, you got to pay these fines and these this restitution before we give your vote back. That had to be overturned by a court. They're playing the game right in your fucking face, man. And y'all out here like, oh shit, man, you know, might as well vote for Kanye, man. I mean, you know, it's better than the choices that we got. Like, nigga, pay attention. Pay attention. There's so much shit happening right in our fucking faces right every day, man. Like, it's every day. I'm like, and I'm watching people just like play it as if like it's a game, and it's not. It's not. So when I see like y'all, you know, interpreting Kanye, becoming Kanye whisperers and shit, anytime Kanye says some wild and crazy shit, y'all coming out of y'all way, like y'all going out of your way to be the interpreter. Like, well, this is what Kanye really meant, man. I understand what he's saying. I see what he's saying. Like, it's always I see what he's saying ass niggas around when Kanye says some dumb shit. How many of y'all had it? I see what he's saying shit when it comes to Joe Biden, when he goes off the handle and does a gaffe or some shit, or he misspeaks or some shit. Keep that same motherfucking energy. There's way too much at stake right now for us to be playing these fucking games and allowing these people to play these fucking games right in front of us like we can't see them. Like nigga, don't you know we can see you? That kind of shit. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's proud to be an American, y'all.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
But y'all know what time it is.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
All right. It's Champ of the Week time here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. And our Champ of the Week this week here at the Spann Report Podcast is none other than my in-laws, man. My in-laws, Michael Land and Roscoe Smith, man. Again, like I said, today is my father-in-law's birthday. And we enjoyed a nice meal at Joe Muir today. But nah, man, the reason why they are the champs of the week this week here at the Spann Report Podcast is nothing other than like I can't thank them enough for having my wife. Right? Like I can't thank them enough, man. Like my wife has upgraded my life in so many ways, man. Like keeping me like she be on my ass, man. Like I know I talk a lot of shit. And I know my wife is real private. She doesn't really be on social media a whole lot, but my wife be in my ass, y'all. Like my wife will like cut me down real quick. If I'm ever feeling myself too much, my wife will bring me right down to motherfucking earth, man. Real talk. And you know, I don't know where I would be without her. And we are celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary tomorrow. And normally, like I said, we would be in New Orleans. We would be in New Orleans, man, like, you know, getting it in, man, like drinking, eating, partying, celebrating. She'd probably be running in the red dress run, have a red tutu on, like the whole 9. But you know, like I said, fuck COVID, fuck coronavirus for taking that away from us, man. I'm just glad that she's I'm glad that my in-laws had my wife, and that's why they champs of the week this week, man. There's no other reason than that. So yeah, that's it. That's it. We get ready to get on up out of here. But before we get out of here, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast. Let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. We leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get read here, played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also, while we're doing these shows live, man, if you're on Periscope, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube and you're watching this live, man, call the hotline, chop it up with your man Spann while we're doing the show, right? Area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and those emails will get read here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. You can hit up our website at www.thespannreport.com. Go there, watch replays of the show, vote in the polls when we decide to put those polls up. Leave us comments on the website. You can buy yourself some merch at the website, man. Get your t-shirt or a coffee mug or whatever else. Face mask, because face masks are fashionable now. Get yourself a special Spann Report Podcast Network face mask, man. Also, you can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network. And shout out to our Patreon patrons who donate in that way. And they are the ones who allow for us to do this show here live on Periscope, on Facebook, and on YouTube simultaneously. So we really do appreciate the golden circle here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But yo, I've been running my mouth for an hour and a half. It's time for me to get on up out of here. But of course, before, well, yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.